I'm back! Hey y'all, welcome in. If you have absolutely no idea who I am, my name's Keygan, and that's with a Y, not an E. I'm a drums and percussion instructor, and this is Friday 421. Last week I covered the most common 421 exercise, 16th note accent tap, and this week we're going to look at the second most common, which is basically the same thing, but we just changed the rhythm bass. So we're looking at a triplet accent tap. So what the triplets basically mean is instead of with the 16 notes where we had 4 beats or 4 notes per beat, now we're only going to have 3. So instead of this, we're going to have this. I'm going to play this in 12/8 time. And what that means is technically the triplets we're about to play are actually 8th notes, and that's how we're going to write them out. So instead of using the quarter note, which only covers 2 8th notes, I'm going to use the dotted quarter note. But I'm going to use the click as the dotted quarter note. So technically, triplets with the quarter note set at 128, which would be right here, those are the exact same as 8th notes with the dotted quarter note set at 128. So this would be the dotted quarter note now. What's different about this is since with the 16 notes our rhythm bass was a 4, everything was based around 4 and we never had to change any time signatures. With this one, since the rhythm bass is 3 and it's an odd number, we're gonna have to do that, and I'll show you that in a second. So otherwise, like I said, it works the same way. So we accent the first partial of each triplet, the second, finally the third. Now those are the 4s. So now we're actually going to have to change time signatures. So before we played each one of them 4 times, but we only have 3 notes. So that means when we go to 2, we've got 2 accents per 3 parts of each beat. So that means 2 times 3 is 6, math. And that means I can either make this into an 18/8 bar, or I'm actually going to list it as 6/8, so that each accent pattern has their own bar. So the first bar of the 2s is going to be, then the second bar, then the third bar. Repeat it. And then we get to the 1s, we're going to change it again. So technically, if we follow the formula we have been, we went from 12/8 to 6/8, divided in half again, it'd be 3/8. I'm actually going to write this as 9/8, just because I think it flows a little better. And I know when I was learning this, it helped me keep the flow a little more. If we put a bar line in between each one of those groupings, I don't know, it just kind of disconnected a little bit for me. That's all just personal preference. Like I said, technically it would be a 3/8 bar, because that, if we're following the same formula we have been, that would be the next logical step. But for me, and at least some of the students that I've taught, it's always seemed to be a little easier if you did it at 9/8. That bar is going to sound like this. And then you repeat it 3 more times. I don't think I played that 3 times. So let's do the whole thing, and I'm going to do the same thing I did last week that I talked about, where I'm just going to have a whole bar of just low triplets, or 8th notes, of very low triplets and 8th notes, so that I make sure that I'm focusing on keeping the bass there. I'm focusing on keeping the rhythm intact. I don't want to let accents throw me off from that. And that's the whole thing. Common mistakes with this are pretty similar to the 16th note version, where we always take, especially the note right after the downbeat, the E or the second partial of the triplet, we usually try to push that up against the downbeat a little more and make it closer and close that space between the downbeat and that second note too much. That's why it's super important to keep the bass there, because then again, we're just changing heights. If I can play this evenly, all I got to do is focus on changing the height. Because remember, when we play an accent, we want to play it higher, not harder. One thing I failed to mention last week because it wasn't super important was stroke types. So give you a really, I'll probably do another video of this, a little more bigger of a breakdown between these 3 strokes, but it's important for what we're about to do. So there's 3 different kind of stroke types. There's a full stroke or a rebound stroke, where every time I hit the drum, it's popping right back up to that same spot. I gotta make sure I put enough energy into it and that I throw it hard enough that it's gonna bounce right back up to that same spot. I don't wanna do this, because that's actually 2 different strokes, right? And it's actually the 2 next strokes that we're talking about. So we've got full stroke or rebound stroke. The next one would be a down stroke, where it starts at one height, ends at a lower height. And basically I remember when I was first taught, I was taught to squeeze my back fingers, which I probably do a little bit, but actually the way I think about it now is I just hold my hand down there. The stick's still gonna bounce, but it's not gonna come all the way back up. My hand kind of absorbs the energy and doesn't let it come back up. So downstroke is anything that starts at one height, ends at a lower height. So any decrescendos, any accent 2 taps, and then the last one is an upstroke. Pickup stroke, I call it sometimes. Where you play the note and then pick it up. So this one would be starts at one height, ends at a higher height. So that's kind of the best way I've been able to teach this, and the best way for me to get students to understand what we mean when we're talking about these stroke types. So full stroke or rebound stroke starts at one height, ends at the same exact height. Whether that's up here or down here, same thing. The downstroke starts at one height, ends at a lower height. An upstroke starts at one height, ends at a higher height. So to this point, all the accents that we've played have been downstrokes. Now when we play it backwards, it's going to change. So when I play, so the first bar would be accenting the third partials. And the second bar, when we get to the second bar, I got to play another left hand accent. So if I play that as a down, that last left hand as a downstroke, then I got to lift it back up in the air again. We're going to have to make sure that we're playing a full stroke. Because if I play that as a down, then I have to add another stroke in there to lift it back up, and that's probably going to cause me to be late. So I want to make sure that's a full stroke so I'm not late to the next accent pattern. Here's what it looks like in time. And you can see too, that's at 128. When we're at a moderate tempo like that, you're not going to have time to play it down, then lift the stick back up. If I was going to, let me see if I can do that. I don't even know if I can do that. I guess I can, but you see how like tense my arm becomes? Because I have to fit another stroke in there instead of just letting it bounce. So I'm going to start the same way, and I'm going to try to put up each full stroke downstroke with all the accents. That's why we got to make sure that those are full strokes. If they're not, especially at this tempo, and as we start getting faster,
we're just going to slow ourselves down.
We're just going to start dragging just because we can't fit in those 2 strokes in the space of what we only need 1 for. And it's variation time. We can actually use a lot of the same variations that we did with the 16th note one. It'll just feel a little bit different. So buzzing every note is really, really good, especially if you play it at a moderate tempo. Do it a few times, your arms are going to kind of start to burn a little bit. So that's really good for building chops. Diddling the downbeat is another one that's great. If you go through the progression of each one of these, they change the different figure that we're doing, and it's super applicable to a bunch of different rudiments. So first we'll accent the diddle. Second one, we are doing drags with the diddle into the accent. When we move the accent to the third partial, then we're practicing tap drags. A couple other ones that I've been working on the past week or two as I've been preparing for this video that are pretty fun is it's what I call them moving puddadas. And if you don't know what a puddada is it's right, left, left, or left, right, right. Puddada. Get it? Since we're drummers, we have to name this stuff after what it sounds like because we're dumb. What's great about this is it starts with puddadas, and on all the turnarounds, when we go to a different bar, it changes them to inverted paradiddles, which are right, left, left, right, or left, right, right, left. And you'll see when we get to the last bar on the ones, it's all inverted paradiddles. So it kind of morphs from playing puddadas into the inverted paradiddles. Finally, the last one. I think I'm calling this one the Swiss mill. So it's actually kind of similar to the puddada and inverted paradiddle. The difference is we're flipping the sticking. So instead of right, left, left, and then right, left, left, right, it's going to be right, right, left, right, right, left, right. And then we're putting a flam on the first right hands of all those. The thing that's tricky is when we turn it around. So you'll see when we go from the fours to the twos, and then when we repeat the twos and repeat the ones, we're always going to have another flam. We're always going to have that flam right, right hand. That's probably the toughest part about it. If you liked what you saw, let me know, like, subscribe, follow. I'm everywhere on social media. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me a message or leave it in the comments or something. And we'll see ya.